Well, I'm back. I got a brand new baby, a 3-day-old beard because, well, I just don't sleep anymore, and a big, awesome Doberman named Arlo. So today, we're going to introduce my new baby to my big, awesome Doberman. Oh man, I am seriously lacking sleep lately. I've been in dad overdrive mode for quite a while now. But you know, one of the most important things about bringing home a new baby when you have a big dog like a Doberman is actually introducing the two of them. So in this video, we're gonna go over how to prepare your Doberman for the arrival of your new baby, what steps I'm actually taking to introduce the two of these guys, and what behavior changes you might notice in your Doberman, and what I actually have noticed in my Doberman when I have brought home this new baby here and my last baby as well. So we're gonna jump straight into it. So up first is preparing your Doberman for the arrival of your new baby. Now hopefully your starting point is a good one and you're starting out with a Doberman who's pretty well socialized and has a pretty rock solid temperament. Now at least this is what we're doing with Arlo. First off, we're kind of acclimating him to the actions and the touches that a kid's might do to him a little bit extra. I kind of call it picking on him training. I say that jokingly, but you know, when we're watching TV and we're on the couch and he's laying on us, we might touch him in different ways that a kid might touch him just to make sure he's used to that. Like we might touch his ears or touch his lip or his nose or his mouth, or touch his paws, play with his paws a little bit when he's not expecting it. Do this when he's like really tired, like kind of about to fall asleep or really awake at all different times, just to get him really used to it. We're also increasing his socialization around kids because, you know, kids smell different than adults to a dog. They act different. They randomly will scream and make loud noises and do just different things and different actions. So we're getting him around as many kids as possible also. And lastly, we're really working on reinforcing any commands that he has where it's like a directive command, where we're asking him to do something like space to give us a little space, or bed so he can go to his bed, or down, stay, you know, sit, all that stuff. We're trying to reinforce that so the consistency is as high as absolutely possible, so you have a little more control over him. You know, when you bring home a new baby, that's a good thing to have. So once you got those things dialed in, then you can introduce your dog to your new baby. Real quick, guys, I do want to throw this out there. Safety first. Obviously, your baby's safety comes before anything. This is just going to be what I'm doing with my dog Arlo to introduce him to our baby. This doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be right for you. Every baby, home, family, every environment is different. Every situation is completely different with all different types of variables. So do what's right for you in your situation. If you don't feel 100% comfortable with the situation you have or 100% confident in how your dog's going to act, change something about it. Okay, so step one, we're just getting our Doberman Arlo used to the smell of the new baby. You know, Dobermans and just dogs in general rely heavily on their sense of smell. It's their strongest sense. So it'd be like eyesight for us. For them, this is how they greet other people, other animals, and we really want to just start things off really slow. So we're doing this, you can do this by bringing home a swaddle from the hospital or some clothing. We're using like some pajamas, for example, just to put that with the dog in their bed, let them smell it, let them cuddle up with it, get used to it, and then it slowly starts to make the baby feel even maybe a little more familiar to the dog before they ever even meet the baby. Step two, Arlo's just gonna be kind of seeing us interact with the baby from a distance. We're not really purposely introducing him to the baby at this point just yet, but the baby is there in the house with him. He's seen us interact with the baby. We're seeing us smile and have positive interactions with the baby, and seeing that the baby's nothing to be scared of. It's actually a really positive thing. Watching us as we change the baby, even hearing the noises the baby makes, the crying and that kind of thing. Arlo's still able to walk away and go to a different room. He has a little bit of a distance. He's not being pushed into any situation at all. We're starting really slow. So at this point, he's just watching us from a safe distance. Now on to step three for Arlo. He's gonna be meeting our new baby just through a small gate or barrier at first, just to kind of get him, again, a little bit close to the baby. There's still a barrier between them. Arlo can leave. It's not gonna be anything right in his face where he can't go somewhere else if he doesn't want to. So he can kind of check out the baby, get used to him. We're gonna do this a couple times just to kind of make sure things are going about how we expect and his reactions are about how we expect. We're very confident how our dog's gonna react. We know he's very gentle with kids in general. He's grown up in a house full of young kids, but it doesn't hurt to be extra cautious, so we're starting through a barrier in the beginning. Now, step 4, this is a common step in a lot of things I teach on this channel. We are gonna be getting Arlo a little bit of extra exercise before he finally meets the baby face to face with no barriers at all. This just helps work out that little bit of extra energy in case he gets that burst of excitement because of the baby. We don't want him doing something, I'm not worried about anything aggressive, of course. I just don't want him doing something out of excitement because of the baby, right? Like he gets excited and wants to play and maybe accidentally paws at the baby or something like that. We want to just reduce the chances of that as much as possible. And again, I'm not going to introduce him until I'm 100% confident with how he's going to act. But one way for me to get 100% confident with him is just to make sure he's got his exercise in for the day and maybe a tad bit extra as well, so he's really calm and relaxed. Step 5 is where the rubber meets the road. Now, this is where Arlo is going to meet the baby up close with no barriers whatsoever. Now, hopefully he's already at this point, feeling pretty familiar with the baby. He's already had the baby scent more than a few times. He's seen the baby at a safe distance. He's even met him through a barrier. So now hopefully this is going to go really smooth. But just in case, I am going to keep a bunch of extra toys in the room real close by. So for whatever reason the baby stresses Arlo out, he has some good outlets. He can just go and chew on something and get out that extra pent-up anxiety. I'm also going to reward him a lot. I really want good feelings to be associated with the baby in Arlo's mind. So I'm going to praise and reward him a lot. He's very praise motivated more than treat motivated. So I'm going to probably be layering on the praise while he's there seeing the baby, and just kind of take things slow. And if he gets too excited or something doesn't feel right, then I'm definitely going to end the session right away. I'm really proud of how Arlo's doing with the new baby. He's doing so good. He still gets stressed out sometimes when the baby cries a little bit, gets up, goes and checks on the baby, maybe whines and circles around a little bit, but always seems to hang near the baby. Doesn't ever want to be too far away. And it's actually, I've seen some really good signs and really good behaviors from him. So I'm actually really, really pleased with how this has gone with him. A couple quick notes, if you're doing this with a young puppy and a baby, puppies, they have just a lot of energy, not as much self-control as an adult, and a lot of times their behavior is much less predictable. And also they have really sharp teeth and sharp nails, and baby skin is so sensitive that I would be very, very cautious in that situation. I would even be very inclined to stick to just introducing them through barriers at that point, at least till the puppy matures a little bit. If you absolutely are convinced you're going to do it, take as many precautions as you need to keep things safe. Have someone there with you with a leash, a very secure leash on the puppy to help control, the distance between them and make sure that everything is safe. Now, there are some pretty common behavior changes that a lot of owners report seeing in their Doberman when they bring home a new puppy into the house for the first time. So I want to lay these out there for you so you kind of know what to expect from your dog. The most common one by far is owners saying that their dogs get jealous when they bring home a new baby. And that makes sense for the Doberman breed in my mind, because the Dobermans are so human focused, they're attached to you, they're Velcro dogs, they're right there with you all the time, and now all your attention shifts to the focus on this new baby, and your dog just doesn't know what to do. So I kind of understand why that happens, but so just try to include your dog more with stuff with the baby. This will help avoid a lot of this. So if you got to get up and change the baby's diaper in the other room, bring the dog with you. If you're going to jump in the car and go for a ride with the baby, as long as you can safely do it, bring the dog in the car with you as well. Try to include the dog with whatever things that you do with the baby, just help avoid some of that. They also report a lot of times that the dog will stick just closer to the side of the owner and follow them around a lot more than even they did before. Also, they may get a little more stressed out. You might see your dog popping up and going over to the baby when the baby's crying, or pacing around in circles. This is another common one that I hear from owners with a new baby. The baby starts crying, the dog starts pacing and whining in circles, and just their anxiety level goes up. So do what you can to avoid that as well. And lastly, extra protective behavior. The dog might start kind of watching everybody else more closely when they're around the baby. Even people that the dog was originally pretty good with. But if you start to see any of that protective type behavior or anything that goes a little bit further than that and actually turns into maybe some aggression, you start to see the raised fur on the back of the shoulders, like the raised heckles. The dog starts to square off with somebody in the house, or starts to get stiff posture, or the weight starts to shift on the forward, the front 2 feet of the dog. The ears are erect. All those things are signs that the dog is feeling some aggression towards whatever the person is that's there. So keep an eye out, know to recognize those signs, and interrupt that behavior if you start to see it. But those are some of the most common things that owners report as some behavior changes when they bring home a new baby into the house. Okay, so that's the behavior changes that most owners report, but what have I actually experienced myself? Now, I've done this twice now, bringing home newborn babies to adult Dobermans in the house. Now, the first one was my first Doberman, Cooper. When he was 4.5 years old, we brought home our firstborn, our son. And before that, it was just me, Cooper, and my wife. And so he was used to being the center of attention. We bring home this new little baby, and actually a lot of his behaviors changed. It was amazing, actually. He started just being gentler around the baby than he was with us, and that just seemed to naturally occur to him. He's also more cautious. When he walked by the baby, he walked a little bit slower, and he's a little bit more careful, and that was just all stuff he did on his own. He'd also stay really close to the baby. Like if we set the baby down and walk out of the room, he would not want to leave the room. He'd want to stay right there with him. He was fine leaving the room if we'd walk out together with the baby and him, but if we left the baby and walked out, he'd want to stay right there next to him. He also picked up on which toys were his and which toys were the baby's, and knew to just stick to his toys. That kind of happened on his own. And lastly, we did notice that as our young baby got a little older and became, young toddler and so on, his play with him seemed to kind of adjust accordingly with how rambunctious it was. It get just a little bit rougher play, a little bit more rambunctious, a little more excitement when the baby got a little bit older, and it stayed kind of age appropriate. Those were the main changes we saw with our first Doberman, with our first baby. Now with Arlo and our current baby, Arlo is 1.5 years old, and we've definitely seen changes in him as well. When we first brought our baby home, the first couple days, Arlo was very curious, but kind of cautious. Like he would sniff near the baby and then back away, and then sniff a little bit closer and then back away and walk off. And he'd do that a couple times and seemed to kind of just get more curious and a little bit closer and a little bit more comfortable as time went on. Also, he seems to get a little bit more stressed with the baby. When the baby starts crying, Arlo will stand up, kind of pace around a little bit. He might also check on the baby, and so we've seen that as well. I've also seen a little bit of protectiveness increase in Arlo, where he will go towards where the baby's sleeping and want to lay down with his back near the baby and watching the room. That is something that has changed also. So there's definitely been behavior changes in both of my Dobermans when I brought home newborn babies. Now, if this is you guys, just remember, take it really slow with your Doberman. Give your dog some time to adjust. This is a big change for them. You're bringing home a new pack member into your family, especially if this is your first kid. This is a big change for your dog. Take things really slow. Let your dog do it at their own pace. Make sure that they always have a place to retreat to, a safe place. Maybe it's their crate, maybe it's a bed in a different room. Just a safe, quiet, kid-free zone that they can retreat to, and everything should go a lot smoother. Please consider hitting that subscribe button down below and that little bell icon next to it before you go anywhere. I'd really appreciate it. And guys, a big thank you goes out to my subscribers who have been hanging in there with me while I've been doing only one video every other week for a short time, just while I'm going through this transition with my family. It's been rough over here, guys. Pretty much any hour of the night I'm up and about. So, but I'm back in the swing of things now. You're gonna be seeing a lot more of me, so make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you soon.